All right, welcome to another spoiler movie review. Spoilers, everybody.
Spoilers.
Today we're reviewing Warcraft. And my name's Eddie. Today I'm joined with
Mike?
Nick.
And let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about our backgrounds with Warcraft. Nick, do you want to start us off with your experience?
So I play a lot of different video games. I'm definitely big into storytelling, story-driven video games, but Warcraft of any kind, World of Warcraft or the RTS games, never really hooked me in. So this was exciting for me to see a video game movie where I really didn't have any context for it, and yet I still consider myself a pretty big video gamer. So I came in with that kind of mindset. It was pretty interesting.
Well, my background is I've played all of them. I'm a bit of a Warcraft nerd. I played WoW a couple years. I played all the RTS games when they first came out. I am a big fan of the lore. I've read the books. So it was a pretty interesting experience seeing the characters kind of come to life.
Yeah, so as far as my experience, I think I played the game once, like I did the trial, and I was like, I don't know anything. I didn't know any of the story going in. And video game movies are bad, so I was rooting for this one. Once it was announced, I'm like, this is big names.
Might be the one. Yeah.
It's going to be good, right? It's rooting for it.
We were hoping.
We're hoping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's go through the plot of the movie a little bit here. Give us some framework of what we're talking about.
Oh boy.
Who wants to try that?
Take a crack at it.
All right. So the basic premise of the movie is that basically the Orcs world is destroyed. It's barren, and some of the Orcs suspect that maybe Gul'dan might have been the cause of that with his magic.
If our people are to make a home here, my friend, Gul'dan must be stopped.
Basically, the Orcs are trying to collect enough humans so that they can open their gate, and because the gate runs on life magic, and it's kind of the plot is really loosely put together. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So basically, it's a refugee story.
Yep.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have to move into this new land, and they're not accepting
Where all the
us.
refugees just...
Well, it's not that they're not even
wanna go
accepting
to
us.
No, it's that you're killing all of them.
Yeah, it's like you came in and immediately destroyed. You know, there's a shot that clearly is like homaging the RTS top-down, helicopter view, and you just see a couple of towns destroyed.
Yeah.
I thought, that is a perfectly fine homage to the game, and then they would follow it up with 10 more fan service scenes, and you're like, man, this is really not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the main plot, and then we have the king who's got his stuff going on. He's trying to organize.
Yeah, so he's trying to bring all the
right?
kingdoms together to try and fight the orc menace. The orcs are obviously very powerful, and it's difficult to stop them. So they all need to band together and fight. Ultimately, though, we only ever see humans fighting.
Yep.
The dwarves and the elves basically, say screw off.
They come to the meetings and then they leave. And
and we never see them again.
Yeah.
Who stood out to you? It's
nobody.
Wow.
Man. And I would like to say, I want to give the actors the benefit of the doubt. The main character is the guy from Vikings, Garana, the main orc gal. She's been in a couple things like Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and she's great. So, it seems like the director might have been the brunt of the bad acting that was going on. I don't know if it was, it's different on every set, but I know that there have been problems with certain, good directors who might be paired up with bad producers or maybe too many producers. This could have been one of those cases where it was just overproduced. I mean, I tend to see a big problem with video game movies is they go way too hard with fan service, and with this one, this was not an exception where they threw in. I didn't know any of the references, but I could tell that they were taking 3 seconds too long on a specific shot just to show you, hey, you might know this one character. I'm like, this is killing.
They previewed Garish Hellscream. He had no lines. but he was like standing next to Gul'dan in like 10 different scenes. So, but no lines.
Yeah, I could tell when that was happening. Like the kids in front of us would like whisper and stuff, and like something must have happened there, and they're just like giggling about something popping up. And I was like, huh, okay.
Yep.
Like that was one thing that bothered me a lot. Actually, is that they kept referencing things that the audience would have no knowledge of unless they like had played the games. Like even then, maybe not. Like you would have maybe had to have read some of the books. I think it was a little bit too much.
It was.
Yeah.
And then they have the two magic dudes. There's the guardian.
Yeah,
and then there's the random kid that shows up that bailed out of school or whatever.
Yep.
Dropped out.
Cool.
Duratan?
No, Khadgar.
No,
Khadgar was the wizard.
Khadgar.
Get some ideas what you're going to do with the place once it's yours?
Guardian, I renounced my vow.
So this was a big deviation from the actual like lore of Warcraft. I'm not going to get into it, but basically,
even within the movie itself, within the movie itself,
didn't make any sense. Really.
Khadgar, his face, his demeanor, he spoke in a Western, American accent.
Yeah,
everything about him was just not fitting in that world.
It felt like a member of the audience had walked into the movie and just started playing the part. It was difficult to watch.
It felt like there were a few characters, Khadgar being at the top, where it just seems like a bunch of cosplay characters who had clothes that looked good enough at Comic-Con, so they're like, oh, let's just put them in the movie.
It was way miscast, though.
Yes.
Yeah, very bad casting. And I'm all for breaking stereotypes as far as like wizards don't all have to have ridiculous beards, but man, he looked like...
He tried with his mustache, you see that?
Yeah, it was so bad.
He looked like he came just off the subway in that outfit from a Comic-Con.
So how did you feel about... Okay, so I think we talked about this a little bit before, but we were seeing that the orcs had more emotional impact in the story, and they were kind of the meat of the
movie, for
Yeah,
sure.
the movie.
So, yeah, the movie...
Our world is dying. There is nothing to go back to. If our people are to survive, we must make a home here.
He starts with...
I actually like the beginning a lot.
Yeah, the beginning where the two main orcs...
Gul'dan and Duratan.
Yep. Those people have a baby. Very much a...
Not Gul'dan. Gul'dan and Duratan don't have babies. Duratan and his wife. Yeah,
so sad we don't remember her name. And then so they end up having a baby, and it's a very human moment, easy to relate to on any level, and that was nice. And I think that kind of brought us into those characters a little more and their motivations behind everything. But
So I like that whole bit. And
there were good.
I was just gonna jump straight to the big spoiler was that they kill off Duratan, who they set up in the first scene. They end up taking him out by the end of it, and
Which was pretty bold.
Yeah, I liked it.
Wasn't expecting that necessarily. I thought that they were going to revive him, so I was actually more appreciative that they kept him dead. A warrior's death.
So the thing I want to talk about Duratan is that he's the father of Thrall, who's like basically one of the absolute main characters of the entire Warcraft universe. And so this is kind of Thrall's origin story, more or less, too. Mostly, like, I felt more of an emotional connection with Duratan than I did any other character in the movie. And it still wasn't that strong, but it was... I felt like the actor who portrayed Duratan did a better job than anybody else, really. And, like, for example, Lothar loses his son, big spoiler, and there was... I didn't care at all. Like, it was such a poorly done death scene. His son had basically no character development, nothing. Like, I couldn't feel anything bad about the son because it was like...
And that kind of connects to one of my biggest issues. I have like three. One of them being the dialogue just never was good. Like there was no dialogue that I can point to that was good. It was either ham-fisted in or it was just so expository. And speaking of that guy's son's death, the only scene I remember him being in prior to that was like one where he's laying in a bed and he's a little hurt.
Scratch on his
and then his father, the main character, says, "You're my only."
Anduin,
Yeah, you're my only son, and like you're
and
my
you're like, okay,
lifeline
this guy's
or
gonna
whatever.
die.
And it's like, yeah, it becomes very
First
clear.
scene I see him with, and now I already know what's gonna happen to him.
Yeah.
Don't even care.
I mean that's like fine if you know that they're gonna die, but it's a completely another to not feel anything when they go, or like not care when they die. It
because
just
then
didn't.
even the payoff for the Anduin, right? Anduin's the guy.
Yeah.
So even the payoff for him wasn't that much. All that happened is you see him drunk in the bar, and then and then
Garona comes and
shows
comforts
up,
him.
and
Oh my god.
I was like, okay, this is the kind of line you don't want to write. You want to have them portray. He said, this is the
moment where he gives like the sad look or something.
This is the worst in my life I've ever felt. I'm like, why are you saying that?
And
you don't have to tell us that.
I know. Yeah.
Crying teary face time. Like no
I
words,
am feeling
please.
sad and mad and all these emotions. Let me tell
It's
you.
like writing 101, guys. Come on. You gotta let your actors do some work.
Well, and then in that scene at the bar, Garona starts trying to neck on him, like starts kissing
it's
him.
like
man,
that is like the most forced romance.
Yeah,
you can't have.
And that was such a wrong time. I don't know, like much about the orc culture, but that seems like you shouldn't be trying to.
That's just
get
like
with
what?
After their
like I understand she's
dies.
trying to like comfort him or whatever, but that's like
yeah.
Okay, all right, that's a little bit much.
All right, so before we jump into more negativity, let's
all right,
let's try to come up with some things you liked about the movie.
I mean, a lot of the fight scenes were good. I mean, most of the choreography was pretty good. There were some moments that were problematic, but I'm willing to forgive those. Like, I really liked the duel between Gul'dan and Durotan. That was a good fight scene. That was really cool. How Durotan was trying to make Gul'dan use his life sucking powers on him, and and it was really cool how they did that. So like that scene was really good.
Yep. Especially because that was also one of the times when they didn't use any dialogue to express like this guy's cheating, and
it was very clear that the orcs didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
They felt it was like a violation of their pride or whatever, and that was clear. Yeah. So
and then 5 minutes later, they continue to fight for him for some reason. I was
that was
confused
a little bit,
on whose side. Like,
he uses intimidation.
He was using intimidation.
I guess, but there was one orc against
sketchy.
one orc, he almost took him down, Durotan, and I'm like, man, there are like thousands of orcs that could just beat the shit out of this slightly wizardous orc.
Well, it happens.
Yeah. Well.
Nick, what was highlight moments?
Yeah, highlight for me was just the fights, specifically the orcs and the punch. You really felt the weight of the impact on that. I thought that was pretty much the only good thing that I could really say. I thought the armor of the humans was kind of cool.
It was Warcraft.
I thought all the other wardrobe.
Straight up.
I thought that was cool. Although if you got a little close, you could see like some of it was painted on, and again reminded me of like Comic-Con kind of cosplay and not necessarily authentic stuff. And so the armor was a little cool, but the fights were probably the coolest part if you want to see it for that.
I like that. I like that first scene where they got ambushed by the orcs. Mm-hmm. That was a pretty good scene for the most part. I like
with
and all that.
And you see the wolf,
you know, and the wolf mounts were really cool.
Yeah,
they
the first
pretty well.
encounter was a good fight scene.
I was gonna say that I enjoyed the magical aspects of it. I'm always a fan of just the
portraying magic on scene or on camera.
Just everybody's magic, the portal magic, like shield magic, and that kind of stuff is cool. The lightning magic, when he brought up the whole force field to put the wall down, I thought was cool because they're fighting, and then you see it in the background. It's like super blizzard.
Yeah,
just blizzard is electricity. So that was cool to me.
Yeah, and I'm usually not a big stickler about CGI as long as it's helping to tell a better story, and I think because it wasn't telling a good story at all, I started to notice, especially in the human scenes, it's weird. Like the orcs, you could obviously tell they were CG, but everything was CG around him, so it kind of fit better when you had the human and the CG.
Yeah.
That's when it really started to fall apart. Like,
Yep.
the greens were way too green. That was like super video game green and super video game blue, and I was like, man, this is...
It looks awkward, for sure.
A little awkward,
It was noticeable that, like, when you had, like, just the orc scenes were okay, just the human scenes were okay.
Yeah.
I have problems with all the humans, but like, when you got them together, it did look really awkward sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the other times when CG is done, you don't really notice it as much. But here, it was much more apparent than normal.
And I think it's because... I mean,
we even have plot to distract us, or like other things to distract us from it. Maybe
there wasn't
like,
a good
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was exactly, but it definitely was more noticeable.
Yeah, because the way I felt about it was like when the movie starts, I felt like I was watching a cool cinematic scene from the video game.
Exactly.
And then once the human actors popped in, I was like, wait, I'm not watching the video game anymore. I'm watching
something else. It was
super. Yeah, it almost
didn't fit. Like
inconsistent in some ways too. Sometimes the CGI was pretty good, and I forgot that it was CGI for just like a second, and then it would start to fall apart for some reason.
Yeah.
The clay monster was like so out of
God,
place.
it was so bad.
Looked like a polygon.
It literally looked like a
Weird.
set of polygons put together. It was bad.
And then when it starts like cracking open and having the
But
green stuff, that still looked
that's
bad.
how he
Terrible.
created him, right? He was doing the clay slicing.
But my God, that looks so bad. Like, they couldn't have done a better
Like,
job.
there were no...
That's Medivh's fault. It's not the...
Yeah, okay, alright. They could have, like, turned it into an infernal or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They could have done something.
Alright, since we're doing that, let's jump into some parts we didn't like.
Okay.
Sure.
That stood out. I'll start. I was thinking of, what's the kid magician guy?
Khadgar?
Khadgar. Khadgar?
Even that name.
Khadgar.
It starts with the name. and
He
just
said his
goes
name like
downhill
3
for that
times. He's
guy.
like, my name's Khadgar. My name's Khadgar. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna retain that.
Never gonna...
But when he goes up to the Sky City
Uh-huh.
and he meets the council or whatever, and he's
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing here? You dropped out." Or
Yeah.
why are you showing your face? He's like, "I know about this. Look at this page. What's going on? You know the name? Let's show you this thing that nobody knows about."
I know, and like you're surrounded by like the wisest people in the
Yeah,
world, and
it's like-
nobody knows.
It's like we expect this to be a secret. Like nobody knows about this. Keep it a secret. I'm like, okay. And then it stops.
They didn't even walk to the
and then it
door.
stops. Like, what do we do? I don't know. This has never happened before.
And it's like, oh my God. They clearly were. That was. It felt unscripted, and it felt. At least I hope it was unscripted.
What happened was they had heavier dialogue to explain it, I'm sure, and they're like, this is not going to work. Let's just chop it down to this one line. They don't know, and just forget it. I feel like it had to have happened because
It was really
that
bad.
whole sequence was...
I even leaned over and whispered
Yeah,
to
you
you,
did.
writing 10 out of 10. Because it was that bad.
Oh,
But then he went into the door, and it was all black, and the weird witch lady looked kind of cool, but him...
Yeah.
Super green screen look. Like,
Yeah.
he was lit, and the background was super black, and you can just tell.
Oh, yeah.
It was very obvious
So-
it was green screened.
so
that's-
goofy.
That stood
Yeah,
out to
I
me.
think I forget in the lore who she was supposed to be, but I think she was supposed to be a being of light. I don't
It's
think
not like Oracle or something. Like, they never tell you what
Yeah,
to do. They
no.
just, like, you
Yeah.
know what to
Mysterious old lady.
Yeah,
Trust
it
her.
was like-
Just trust the mysterious old lady.
Yeah,
The black
I don't know
lady.
what the purpose of her was. Like, why couldn't they have just cut her out and had the council tell them like
Yeah.
this stuff? Like,
The
there was no
council's right there.
there was no need to introduce her. Like, absolutely no need.
Okay, so she said, I used the last of my magic to get you here or something.
Yeah,
So she
yeah.
used her magic to put her name
Call
on
in
the book? Or
yeah,
like,
or something. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I didn't feel that was necessary. Like, they could have cut that out.
Super underdeveloped, yeah.
Yeah.
okay, what do you got?
So my least favorite scene was literally all the dialogue.
No, you got to pick one. Come on.
All right, fine. The final battle scene between Medivh, Khadgar, and Lothar. That entire scene sequence was terrible.
Medivh, Khadgar.
And Lothar, Anduin, same difference.
Okay.
Lothar's his last name. That's how they always refer to him in the lore. So that's how I know him. So like that entire sequence where they're fighting Medivh in the tower, just felt completely improvised. Like nothing felt choreographed or at all, because
Go distract him.
yeah, like they spent, they were like hiding like behind these like wooden pillars, and they like both kind of like looked like they didn't know what they were supposed to do, like legitimately had no idea what they were supposed to do, like as actors. Like it felt all very improv and not scripted, and like Medivh like just literally standing there like chanting randomly. Like in the books he's like taunting them and like talking from the demon's perspective, because he gets taken over by a demon, which they kind of gloss over, and it's really interesting because like he's taunting them to kill their friend, because Medivh is
but the movie
but the movie like it didn't do any of that. They didn't tie back to the emotional ties between Lothar and Medivh, who have been friends for years. Or
all they're trying to do is stop him from opening the portal.
Yeah, and they didn't. I don't know. The scene felt entirely fake. I don't know.
I was confused at the end of that when Khadgar got into the pool and he was turning evil too.
Yeah, he was like,
is he evil,
he
or
was
is he
absorbing the fell or something like.
But then he used the blue magic.
But he could control it, so he's more powerful,
it was like
I
supposed
guess.
to be like,
Whoa,
within the darkness, like I find light or something, and bam, like I can overcome the fell because, etc.
So much better, younger,
Yeah,
stronger,
whatever.
faster, whatever. Yeah, that was just.
All right, what do you got, Nick?
So mine is a technical thing that I think kind of, spiraled everything downhill, and I think that it felt like it was edited by a freshman in college or even high school. And what I mean by this is, and I don't know how they did it, or if their actors were just bad or it was badly directed, I'm not sure, but when they have the dialogue, they allow the actor to finish their entire line, and then they move to the other shot of the other actor delivering their entire line.
Instead of overlapping?
Yeah.
Instead of overlapping.
It's not a conversation.
If you notice that, like, there's hardly any overlap whatsoever. I don't even remember even seeing any overlap, because I was consciously looking for it in the second half, because realistically, to kind of get more emotion from the audience, you want to hear the person speaking, but you want to see how the other actor who's not speaking is reacting to that. That's interesting, and they didn't do that at all. It seemed it was bad. So if you're interested in like bad filmmaking and understanding like what from a technical side, what went wrong with that movie, a lot of things, but that to me stuck out the most.
All right, so let's talk about how it ends and where we think it could go next, or if you want to see more, or like, because you know more about the story and the lore, like where would you want to see what
the
happens
next
to the kid?
So the next like sort of frame in the story is Thrall, like the little baby that Garona, or that what's the Durtan's wife, whatever her name is, I forget at the moment. When she ships the baby down the river, the baby is picked up by a lord, whose name I'm blanking on. Yeah. But basically, he raises Thrall as a gladiator fighter, and Thrall's raised in basically slavery. And the humans eventually win the war. So
spoilers.
So is it?
I was looking forward to it.
It's a gladiator movie, or
so no? It's
is he consumed by the evil magic?
No,
I was confused.
He's not. He's not. No. He is completely free from it. But yeah. So like the next sort of big story is his growth, and basically in the time that it takes for him to grow up, the orcs lose the war. And are basically enslaved by humans, lose their spirit, and his story is bringing the orcs out of enslavement. It's a freeing of the slaves kind of movie.
Does he come back and kill Gul'dan?
No, Gul'dan actually Gul'dan is killed by other.
Because I thought he's the one that brought Thrall. Thrall, whatever.
It would be appropriate storytelling wise.
Cool. Yeah. Circle that back.
But. Yeah, that also doesn't happen in the books. So, yeah.
Okay, I liked it.
It was a nice touch. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, they were pretty comfortable with knowing like they want to tell more of this story. It wasn't just like a teaser of, oh, if this movie makes a lot of money, then we'll make a sequel. No, it was more like they want to tell more, and I don't know if I want them to.
I kind of want them to, because I know there's a lot to tell, and maybe if they hone in on certain characters or
a slave type story that you're talking about sounds interesting.
The Thrall story is the strongest by far of of many of the Warcraft stories. It's a really good story. It has all the aspects of a great story, but they really need to get a new director and better writers. I know that the director co-wrote this with somebody else.
Like Nick was saying as well, there's a lot of hands in the
cookie jar. It's difficult to keep.
Tell the story first.
Everything else, just as an afterthought, please.
Yeah, and it seems like they did the reverse of that almost.
Yeah, they just kept trying to throw bones to the audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll just jump straight into ratings here, and Mike, you want to start us off with your thoughts on the overall movie?
All right, so if you are a fan of Warcraft and know the Warcraft lore, you will probably get some entertainment out of it. I enjoyed seeing all the little nods to the Warcraft universe and whatnot, but honestly, it was a very bad movie. It was very poorly done. If you really want to see the movie, I would just wait till Redbox or
$1.
Yeah, or wait till it starts streaming on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
Nick?
So like I said, I consider myself a pretty avid video gamer. I even saw Ratchet and Clank earlier this year. Yeah,
wow,
exactly. And in the same way, I have played Ratchet and Clank games, so I thought if you're a fan of Ratchet and Clank, same as you with Warcraft, that it's worth watching it because there are good nods in that way. But for me, having no connection to Warcraft whatsoever, it's hard for me to recommend it. Again, I kind of always recommend, if you're interested in filming, look at some bad, there are bad funny movies, and then there are bad boring, just undercooked, underdeveloped movies, and I felt like this was in that range. So Netflix, wait till Netflix if you're gonna.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little bit more positive on this actually, because I felt like going in not knowing any of the lore helped me, because I didn't catch anything that was off or whatever. When I was watching it, I kind of felt like this is hard to follow and this is a lot going on, and it is kind of boring at times, but there were moments that kept me engaged, and I was like, I knew a lot of work went into this. I like the dude that made it, and I wanted it to succeed, so I was rooting for it the whole time. So
We're doing a spoiler alert review on Captain America: Civil War, and today
we are reviewing a movie called The Jungle Book.